It's the time for the package from China. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video we are going to take a close look at the new mini, or I'm just going to call this thing the Frankenstein PlayStation 1 from our friends from China, because they have released something new. And here on the channel I'd love to review these weird clone systems. But this thing, I don't know what to think about it, because as you can see that the device doesn't even look like a PlayStation 1, or it has some similarities. But when you're looking at the box, it needs to be a mini 32-bit system, and yeah, you can see that it's quite bust up. But when you take a close look at the specification on the box, you can see there are some things that we have seen before. So to begin with, this device runs on an Android operating system, and they are doing it nowadays very often. Now having built-in 256 MB, I'm guessing this is the RAM, and we're having 8 GB of internal storage. Then we're having support for an external 16 GB? That's not a lot, to be honest. But we're having a support for HDMI out, supporting game memory, supporting for 6 simulators, and that is interesting. So inside the box we're going to get all the necessary cabling, and of course we're going to get the controls. The system itself is over here, and I'm just going to call this thing the Frankenstein under the PlayStation Mini clones, because they have more like copied the color, the buttons, and they say it is PS1 with an LED over here, but there is nothing much to see and to talk about. Okay, here we're having the controls. They rip off the PlayStation 1 controls, the first model they've released back in the day, and yeah, this is like all these clone systems. It feels quite sturdy. It doesn't smell chemical at all. The D-pad feels decent, very sturdy, and the buttons feel very flimsy. Also, we're going to get a power supply. That is something that is not always common. A second controller, and of course an HDMI cable. Ah, boy, there is no toilet paper manual today. I really no clue what to think about this thing. Look at this. It doesn't even look like in PlayStation 1, but they say it's in PS1. So you want to say we are naughty and we just want to make a kind of a copy of it. So we take a close look at it. We're having the power, or sorry, this is a reset. This is the power. And here we're having the USBs at the front, but very strange also the CF slot. That is something I've never seen before. Most of the time there's always on the back. We're having micro USB for power, 5 volt, and the HDMI output. At the bottom we can't find anything. So let's do an ETA Prime moment and let's open it up. Even though we're knowing it's an Android device, it's always so much fun to check out what are they using for hardware specifications. So looking at the box, you can say that it is not the latest, of course, because with a 256 GB of, MB of RAM, it's not a lot. It's not a lot at all. So I wish it was 256 GB, yeah. Alright, so let's open it up, and what the... That is a really strange way of assembling a system, because normally you would say that we're going to use the bottom plate for the mainboard, but that is not the case. Okay, so let's take a close look at the internals, and I can say that is quite unique in my opinion, because I have never seen the way how they assemble this. Most of the time they're using these ribbon cables, but as you can see here, this is the PCB that it contains everything, like the USB connections and of course the CF card. And here we have the micro switches for on and off and reset. At the bottom you can see we're having no ribbon cable whatsoever. We're having all separate connectors that goes on the mainboard at the front. So there's quite an interesting, unique design. And let's take a close look at this thing, because is this an old school TV box? Okay, so let's take a close look at the mainboard. Sadly, they hot glued the freaking color again to the PCB, so I can't remove it, or it's very hard to remove. But as you can see over here, we're having 2 chips that will contain the RAM chips, and this is what we're going to get. Over here we're having the flash chip that contains the storage that I have shown on the box itself. This will be around 8 GB, but there is something that is quite interesting. So when we're looking at the production date, here we can see this is version number 1, but it says over here 2018. So this means that they are using a really old school PCB. I'm guessing this will be something that they used in an old school media box. Okay, I just removed the 4 screws to show you the bottom plate. And of course some interesting things. As you can see, we're having 2 buttons over here. Doesn't say a lot, but kind of strange. They are over here. There's not a lot of information on the bottom. There are no extra chips or whatsoever, but just, yeah, quite interesting. And just wanted to give you a quick look. And when the system has booted up, this is what we're going to get. We're going to get this spacey looking menu, and it's kind of unique and basic at the same time. So as you can see over here, it's indeed a multi-simulator device. So here at the top we're going to get PlayStation 1, we're having GBA support, MAME, Sega Mega Drive, Famicom and Super Famicom. But the strange thing is that I can't see an option or whatsoever, so we can just pick an emulator and that's it. So it is possible to use the quick load, quick save navigation menu. That is quite interesting that it did implement this option, but sadly everything is in an Asian language. Don't know what it says. I did some messing around with it and it does work. But yeah, no way of changing the menu or the language. Another weird thing is when you're pressing select and start at the same time, you're going to get the menu, the same menu when you're pressing the reset button. And will ask you to do a quick save or not, and you can just go back. Quite interesting in my opinion. I know you can change the aspect ratio, yeah, with your television of course, but we're going to leave it like this. No sound delay whatsoever? Okay. Woo! But the music is really choppy. So I'm watching here in black display, and simply because I tried to boot up a MAME game, but they even messed it up with this. Alright, so I'm trying another game, let's see how these are running, because if it's not booting up, in my opinion, it's just one freaking mess. If there is something that is freaking horrible when you're having a shoot 'em up that is made for an upright cabinet and you play it on a widescreen display with not the right aspect ratio, it can't get more shitty than this, seriously. But okay, let's boot it up, let's see how the emulation itself is good. How good is it? Oh, I just killed myself already. Woo! Who doesn't love shoot-ups and overkill of weapons? And again, the D-pad for this game is not bad at all. I do like my traditional D-pads, but this, no. I've seen some shitty D-pads, but this is not that bad. Where are buttons? Oh, here we are. A really gore game for back in the 90s. Is this guy made of freaking metal or what? I keep slicing the dude. But yeah, 60-minute runs like a charm. I'm going to get attacked by a freaking monkey. What the hell? But as you can see, for the Super NES, the emulation is not bad at all. So when you take a close look at the emulation, you can see that the games of PlayStation 1 seems to be running just fine. And I wouldn't say it's spot on emulation, but they managed to do a pretty damn good job. The controls are not like the original game system, like the original PlayStation 1 Mini. I played some shitty controls in my life, but this thing is not that bad. It doesn't even help with my playstyle, let's put it this way. So the PlayStation Mini Frankenstein edition, because it doesn't look like a PlayStation Mini ripoff. So basically what they did is they're using a media box for, let's say 2018 in this case, slap it in a new casing, reprogram the Android that it will boot up in the front end and add some emulators. This is basically what they did with this. And to be honest, some emulators are not that great, but some are running pretty fine, especially the PlayStation 1 where the emulation was not spot on, but it did work very well. The controls, They feel very cheap. They smell very cheap. But in the end, when playing with them, it was not that bad. I have seen some shitty controllers, but this thing was not that bad. So yeah, what do you think of this? Let me know in the comments. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the little bell, because I have a lot of interesting stuff coming here to the channel. Not only when it comes to clone systems, but I find it always fascinating to see what they are making over there in China. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and I will see you in the next video.